What's up, Dark fam? DARKPEN here, and tonight we're getting spooky. We're cracking open a horror story that's got a twist you won't see coming. But trust me, you need to stick around for the ending. Let's get creepy. Akiko, weary from another late shift at the yakiniku restaurant, faced a familiar dilemma. The last train had left, leaving her with two options: the long bus ride or the shortcut through Inokashira Park. Whispers of the park's eerie reputation danced in her head, but the thought of another hour on a crowded bus was enough to tip the scales. With a deep breath, she plunged into the dimly lit path, the silence broken only by the rustle of leaves and the distant hoot of an owl. Suddenly Akiko's breath hitched as a wave of stale, cloying air washed over her. It carried a faint, unpleasant odor, sending a shiver down her spine. Then, a figure emerged from the shadows, a woman clad in white, her face partially obscured by a surgical mask. But beneath it was a smile that would haunt your nightmares. A grotesque slash ran down the center, splitting her face in two, the unmistakable mark of the slit-mouthed woman. Akiko froze, breath catching in her throat. That famous legend offered no clear answer when confronted by the Kuchi Sakeuna. The legend says the slit-mouthed woman preys on the lonely, asking, "Am I beautiful?" A wrong answer. Well, let's just say her smile isn't the only thing that gets cut. Should she lie? Tell the truth? Each option felt like a gamble. A voice, dripping with a darkness that seemed to seep into Akiko's bones, shattered the silence. "Excuse me?" it rasped, a sound like gravel scraping against raw flesh. "Excuse me, but tell me, am I beautiful?" The question hung heavy, a twisted test. Panic clouded Akiko's mind. A simple yes or no could seal her fate. But then, a memory flickered her grandmother's voice, laced with caution. "Beware the woman in white, with a smile too wide to be true. But answer not with a simple yes or no." Taking a deep breath, Akiko forced a response. She stammered, her voice barely a whisper. She said, "Beautiful. Compared to what?" The slit-mouthed woman's smile faltered for a beat, surprise flickering in her shadowed eyes. The air grew thick with tension. Akiko pressed on, her voice gaining strength with each word. She continued, "Beautiful, compared to the darkness that surrounds us." The woman tilted her head, her gaze scrutinizing Akiko. A low chuckle escaped her, a sound like wind whistling through a graveyard. "Darkness?" she mused, a hint of amusement replacing the menace. She continued, "Perhaps, but even in the darkest night, a single flame can be captivating. Wouldn't you agree?" Akiko's mind raced. Was this a new trick? A trap? But the question held a strange weight, her voice gaining conviction. She said, "Yes, even a small flame can illuminate the vastest darkness." The slit-mouthed woman remained silent for a moment, the tension crackling between them. Then, with a sigh that rustled the leaves around them, she spoke. The spirit said, "An interesting answer." The voice was softer now, almost melancholic. She continued, "Perhaps you are not entirely lost after all. But tell me, do you carry a flame with you on this dark night?" "Yes, I do," she lied, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. The slit-mouthed woman's head snapped up, a spark of interest glinting in her shadowed eyes. "A flame, you say? Then show me," she demanded, the playful lilt replaced by a sharp command. Akiko's mind raced. Every answer felt like a wrong turn, a desperate yearning for something, anything, to break free of this terrifying situation welled up within her. Akiko fumbled in her purse, her fingers brushing against something unexpected, a box of Pocky sticks. A spark of hope, faint but desperate, ignited within her. Akiko fumbled with her purse, pulling out the box of Pocky sticks, its bright red packaging a beacon in the dim moonlight. Akiko said, "A single flame, but a flame that can be shared," she declared, her voice stronger now. The slit-mouthed woman studied the box, her grotesque smile flickering back into existence, but with a hint of curiosity replacing the earlier menace. She reached out a hand, the scar on her cheek catching the moonlight momentarily. Akiko flinched but held her ground, her gaze locked on the spirit's eyes. Would she accept the offering? The spirit remained still for a moment, the tension thick enough to choke on. Then, with another sigh rustling the leaves, she spoke. A shared flame, a bold proposition for a human facing a vengeful spirit. She echoed, her voice laced with amusement. Slowly, she lifted her hand, not reaching for the entire box, but for a single Pocky stick. Akiko watched, breath held captive, as the spirit carefully plucked the red stick from the box. With a flick of her wrist, the Kuchi Sakeuna ripped the surgical mask from her face, revealing the horrifying scar. But in that same instant, she placed the Pocky stick between her lips, the bright red contrasting starkly with the pale flesh of her mangled face. An unsettling silence descended as the Kuchi Sakeuna held the Pocky poised, her eyes locked on Akiko's. "Now, little human, tell me again, am I beautiful?" The spirit finally spoke, her voice devoid of its earlier sweetness. Akiko stared back, the answer a heavy weight in the silent air. This grotesque creature, sharing a Pocky under the cloak of night. A strange empathy flickered within her. "Beauty," Akiko finally said, her voice steady. She continued, "Beauty comes in many forms. Tonight, I see a spirit yearning for connection, not vengeance." The Kuchisakeuna's eyes widened, a flicker of sadness crossing her face. Then, with a sigh that seemed to echo through eternity, she took a bite of the Pocky. The tension eased, replaced by an uneasy truce. As they stood there, a human and a vengeful spirit, united by a shared treat, the legend of the Kuchi Sakeuna took on a new, more terrifying light. Perhaps, even monsters craved a taste of humanity in the endless darkness. Akiko blinked, momentarily frozen. The figure that had loomed before her, the grotesque smile a constant threat, was gone. The air, thick with a cloying scent moments ago, felt oddly clean. A tremor ran through her, a mixture of relief and lingering terror. Had the spirit simply left? Slowly, she turned, searching the moonlit path for any sign of the slit-mouthed woman. Silence. Only the rustle of leaves and the distant hoot of an owl broke the quiet. A shaky breath escaped her lips. Maybe, just maybe, the offering, the shared Pocky, had been enough. Maybe the vengeful spirit had found a flicker of something in their strange encounter. Akiko stumbled home, the memory of the encounter etched into her mind. Sleep was a distant dream, replaced by a chilling unease. The promise of a safe passage hung heavy, a pact made with a spirit whose true motives remained veiled. The following day, Akiko scrolled through the news on her phone, a cold dread pooling in her stomach. A headline screamed, "Local woman found dead, gruesome slitting marks on face." Panic clawed at her throat as she devoured the article. The victim, a young woman with a bright smile, was found murdered near Inokashira Park. The description, chillingly specific, left no room for doubt. The red Pocky stick felt heavy in Akiko's hand. No longer a comfort but a chilling reminder of what she'd just been through. The legend of the Kuchisakeuuna whispered through her mind, a terrifying question echoing in the silence. If your answer had been wrong, Akiko, would you be the one staring back from that news report? The weight of the encounter settled upon her. Akiko had faced the slit-mouthed woman, navigated the deadly game of words, and offered a shared flame. But was it enough? Was the pact truly broken, or merely delayed? The answer, like the spirit's motives, remained shrouded in the darkness. Akiko knew one thing for certain. The legend of the Kuchisake-una was far more terrifying than she could have ever imagined. The encounter had irrevocably changed her, leaving her forever teetering on the edge between reality and the terrifying world of vengeful spirits. That Kuchisake-una encounter was wild, right? Let me know what you think in the comments. This story chills here, Dark Fam. But for more spooky vibes and dark genre stories, smash that like button and subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you next time.